Canadian Andrew Chavados. Am I saying that right, though? Or am I saying it with enough Hispanic flair? Or do I say it Canadian?
Might be French.
Or is that French? Is it Chapados? Chapados. Yeah, what is it?
It is French. I'm
such a
whatsoever.
fucking idiot. I don't know anything. Literally don't know anything. Like, oh my, why am I talking about Mexico? Jimmy, you went to Princeton. I said there's no Mexicans in Canada 5 times. James, in 2 seconds, realized that his name is French. How stupid are you, Jimmy?
Pretty stupid.
Andrew, how you doing? What's going on, brother? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Alex.
What's the deal with all these dudes beating up on girls in women's sports?
It's a really big trend these days. I don't know what the deal is with it. I don't know why it's being allowed. Even after the executive order, it's still being allowed to exist. You showed the one young male there doing the high jump. There's actually a protest by 4 girls at that event who didn't want to participate in it. But there are, as you alluded to earlier, dozens and dozens of examples over the last couple of years. I can't keep track of them all. This is how much there is. When people say, like Representative Jasmine Crockett, she says it's not happening, point to the trans kid that's ruining your life. There's a lot of them ruining young girls' lives, or maybe it's their parents ruining their lives, as we saw sort of in one of your recent interviews on a college campus. But it's happening pretty much every single day. And there's a bunch of examples.
I had some CBD stuck in my throat. I couldn't talk. No, but real quick, I just want to say you made such a good point. It's these parents' fault 95% of the time, except there's a rare exception where they'll tell the parents, the doctor will tell the parents that the kid will commit suicide if they don't get the surgery. We cannot say that on YouTube. So I'm saying there are a few parents, like Chloe Cole's parents, that thought that they were doing the right thing, but the majority of the time it's Munchausen by proxy, where they want to keep their kids sick and on medication and constantly doing doctor's visits because they have a mental illness. So you're right. I just want to cut you off. I think that I get, by the left, they get mad at me for attacking children when it comes to trans stuff. I don't ever want to attack a kid. I think the kids a lot of times are innocent in this thing. So sorry, Andrew. I just want to make that point.
No, it's fine. And this is what happens. As we saw in your interview, they push them towards it. And there are some examples where the child doesn't know what's going on, obviously, and the parent will say, well, it would be cruel to make Billy compete against other Jimmy and Bobby, but that's just not the case. So I think there's some examples we can pull up, and I was hoping we could go over some of the examples and see if we could tell, like if you can tell there's a physical advantage, because a lot of people want to say, you know, if you started the gender transition at puberty or just before puberty, you can halt puberty, and therefore the child will not have an advantage over the other athletes, which is statistically and biologically untrue. And I was hoping we could pull up one of them in particular named Anna Caldis. Now,
yeah,
this
that's
isn't
full
a
screen
young...
number 2. Pull that up. Sorry to cut you off, Andrew. But yeah, Anna Caldis.
Okay. Yeah, so this isn't a child, but this is an adult. And this is a guy who his real name is Hugo, by the way. He
Time
looks
out,
like a
Andrew.
Hugo.
George, did you just say that this person's hot, George? Because I will literally, I just had a guy, the director of the show just said that he's hot. George, you're a married man, dude. Does your wife know you're gay? I mean, I think they might tell her that before. Okay, sorry, Andrew. What were we saying about this dude?
I was saying this happened in San Antonio, Texas recently, and he won every event that he was in. 3 of them were more than 3 seconds. And this is a guy who's just joining like an older woman's swimming category and just dominating them. It was a 45-year-old to 50-year-old women's swimming category. And this guy just shows up and he dominates them. And there's documentation that goes back years and years where this guy was competing as a man, kind of like our favorite
Leah.
hot girl, Leah. Where he
George
was
is favorite hot girl, director's favorite hot girl. But yes, our favorite hot, the penis propeller. I guess she is a woman, George, so you're not gay. I apologize. I don't want to get canceled. No, we all love Leah with the propeller in the pool that helped them win. So that's the most famous. What were you saying, Andrew?
I was just saying, this guy used to be on like gay men's swim clubs and talk. He was actually a scientist at university. He had patents that he filed under his old name, and then he just started competing against women and dominating them in swimming. So it's kind of a story we've heard before, but this is one of the more recent ones, and this actually happened in San Antonio. So even in Texas, this stuff is happening right now.
And I want to go through the list, but James, I want to ask you, why is that where a person like this, a gay man happens to be obviously very intellectual, a scientist, it sounds like.
Stupid, right?
Not stupid. I'm saying, why are all these intellectuals at these colleges all freaks? I mean, and they're not all freaks, but why do the super educated tend to kind of lean into this weird gender ideology progressivism?
So I put these people in two categories because I think some of these people who are trans are genuine. They genuinely.
There are some,
feel
yeah,
like,
I agree with you.
Well, and I'm super close to this because when I was in New Orleans on the radio, my co-host for 3 years was a closet trans.
Cool.
And he had been that way since he was a kid, even before he went to college. He would sneak his mom's clothes.
But when you say he, it was a female to male?
Well, he lived as a male for 90% of his life, and this was what he did in the evenings. And there was.
So he was a drag queen.
No. He always wanted to transition and live as a woman.
But he was afraid because of the
because
stigma.
He's a conservative talk show host.
Wow.
On the radio.
Blair White's a friend of mine. That's the thing, is Blair White's passing, but still, for me, when it comes to this trans stuff, it's the kids, it's the youth sports where it's really gross. If you're an adult, we live in a free country, but I still don't like the fact that this guy's just a gay guy, probably a gay smart guy, and he's like, oh, I'm so smart, I can figure out a hack on how to win a women's swimming league by, putting on a women's swimsuit. So I don't know. It's a very hard situation. I don't want to.
Well, I got to watch it. It's a compulsion, and there's a sexual element to it.
That's the big element.
With a guy I was close to, and that doesn't make it wrong. That just means you can't turn it off any more than you can turn it off if a beautiful woman walks in and you would notice, right? You're compelled to do that. So I mean, he could never really turn it off, and he would try and talk himself out of it, but he would always go back to it. And he's not with us anymore.
Oh, rest in peace.
But he had a big complaint with the people. His concern was 65% of children that experience gender dysphoria naturally outgrow it by age 25 without treatment. The ones that don't get treated, 65% of them
always
revert
outgrow it.
So for them, it really was just a phase. And his concern was that people were getting talked into this lifestyle that caused him so much problem and heartache. He never got married. He never had a healthy relationship because, girls wouldn't accept this. And so it was a burden that he carried around. It wasn't something that he celebrated and waved around.
And that seems like the more normal approach, because it would be hard to be gay. I have gay family members. I'm not anti-gay, but it would be hard, the social stigma of your family members having to tell people, oh, my daughter is
It was terrible. It really was terrible. And the thing is, it wasn't something he can turn off. And for 65% of people, they can turn it off at some point. So if they can, then they weren't compelled to do it, which means they were kind of coerced or encouraged or incentivized or in some other way experimenting with this when they wouldn't have without some other intervention to encourage them to make these bad decisions.
No, and there is always usually a parent or doctor.
But I have no way of knowing whether this guy is genuine, if he's one of the real ones.
None of the athletes are genuine. And when I say genuine, obviously I don't think a guy can actually become a girl, but I do think people have such gender dysphoria, mental health issues that they do think that they're in the wrong body. Whether that's right or wrong and that we need to enable that, I mean, that's kind of where we decide on what we need to do. But I do think there are people that are that mentally ill. But there's also people that are just horny from it. So, Andrew, I want to get back to these ladies, but this is not a lady's name. This is Henry Halen. Can you tell us about Henry, Hank?
Yeah, Henry Hanlon. And something else you'll notice if you read a lot about these incidences, a lot of them go to Waldorf schools. I don't know if you know what that is.
I don't.
It's
what is that?
I barely know what it is. It's like a specialized art school based on a specific European style of teaching, and a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but many of these cases come from these schools, which is an interesting thing if your viewers want to look up what a Waldorf school is.
Yeah, I'm looking up ChatGPT right now. What is a Waldorf school? What is the basic description?
No, Waldorf Astoria, not the same thing?
Yeah. Well, we know Waldorf Astoria is a famous hotel brand. Waldorf
No,
school.
it's based off a guy.
It's a
What?
bad joke.
Listen, this show is not meant to be funny. This is a kids show about serious stuff, and we're trying to protect kids in women's sports. A Waldorf school is an independent educational institution based on the philosophy of Rudolf Steiner, probably related, emphasizing holistic development through arts, creativity, and experiential learning, not experimental, experiential learning. It focuses on nurturing a child's intellectual, emotional, and physical growth in a non-competitive environment. Oh, so this is like one of those schools you don't get graded. The curriculum integrates academic subjects with music, movement, storytelling, and practical skills. Tailored to developmental stages, technology use is often limited, especially in early years, to foster imagination and hands-on engagement. Teachers typically stay with the same class for multiple years to build strong relationships. So they used to make fun of these type of schools in Arrested Development. Did you ever see that show?
Yeah, I've seen that show.
Well, they wouldn't get a grade, so they would get like their report card would be like a bumblebee, a bicycle, like whatever, it'd be this new age shit. So that makes sense that all these transgenders are coming from parents that are so crazy that they don't want to send their kids to a normal school with computers. So this makes sense, right? I mean, once again, what is the contributing factor? The parents picking the school, probably picking their kid's gender. So once again, this is another check for the poor kids. I feel like they're.
This one actually got a lot of cheers when he and or she or they were racing, and very successful. Another person who's been in the news, the trans news, if you want to call it that, several times for being very successful, breaking records. And this is what ends up happening is I write about, like I said, literally dozens of these stories, Alex, and I don't want to have to write about this all the time, but I think there's some sort of like duty involved here where you have to point out that this is happening because people don't want to believe it's happening. And this is what happens regularly, is that some of these athletes, they compete in multiple competitions, sometimes like in a month, because this is, if you think about high school athletics, you're going to tournaments, you're going to track meets and everything, a lot of track, obviously. And they're successful, breaking records week after week. And the women are just sort of sitting there being like, what can I do besides participate? Now, that reminds me of the high jumper. The high jumper, when he competed as a boy, he had the same like jump height as when he was a girl. But when he was a boy, he came in last. And when he was a girl, the same height won him the competition. So this is like, he has to do like, he gained like 2 inches over the course of like 4 years in his jump. Like,
it's an unlosable argument.
Literally, didn't even have to get any better to win the whole entire enchilada, but they didn't place with their original height. I mean, it's insane, but okay. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people are going to see this. And so I don't want to lie, because the chat rats are watching this, and I love you, chat rats. And this is a thing, this is a statement they've seen me and heard me make multiple times. And I do believe this is the truth. And this is why I think the work that you're doing is so important, Andrew. But I want you to be a little more proactive, because what you and I can do, and I want you to just follow me, and James, please follow me too. It seems like you're pretty good at doing old research. Would you agree with me on that, Andrew, that you're a pretty technically smart guy, right?
I've used a computer or two.
So what I need you to do is I need you to get on that computer, get on that thing, and we need to create a transgender tracker where we can find all of the top trans athletes so we can gamble on them and win money. But we want this information to be proprietary, because we want to be able to sell these transgender picks. So I'm going to offer you, for $1,500, you can work for me for free in this project, and you, James, for $5,000.
Wait, $1,500 I can work for free? What does that mean?
That's exactly what it means. And I mean, don't worry about it. It'll be in the end. We'll get you back in the end. But yeah, you pay me $1,500, and you have to join the Church of Scientology. But other than that, that's all that we require. So if you're willing to track these transgenders and create an algorithm where we can bet on them and find betting and gambling advantages, I don't want to limit trans and women's sports. As a matter of fact, I want to make it easier for these transgenders to get in their sports in order to make me money, because really, if we're going to be honest, and I was going to say this earlier, and I wasn't going to say it, but now I'm going to say it, Leah Thomas, although they were a boy, that boy did more for women's swimming than any of those bitches ever could. And I mean that with all due respect. I don't need to use that word. Just saying, they couldn't get viral if they tried. They could have been swimming naked. They wouldn't have had viewership. But as soon as they let a guy get in there with a wang,
would we know Riley Gaines if not for Leah Thomas?
We would have no idea. And no offense, Riley. Riley's watching this.
Wow.
She watches the show every night. Riley, you hate him? You sadly wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for him.
Wow,
so it's
Alex, wow.
That's no disrespect to Riley Gaines. She's a super champion, all-American swimmer. I'm saying she would have been successful, more successful as a swimmer. But Riley, we probably wouldn't have known who won the All-America. We wouldn't know. I don't know any All-American swimmers besides you and Leah Thomas. So no disrespect. Leah Thomas did help make Riley a superstar that she is today, rightfully so.
So it's sort of like a heel versus a baby face in wrestling sort of situation you're saying then.
Exactly right. And I'm a trans mark. I'm a mark for the transgenders because I can gamble on them. And so, yeah, it's the definition of WWE.